what we're going to give you is almost a 3-step how-to to get your submission done and ready, and to feel really prepared and give you the best opportunity possible. So the first one is around finding an idea. Some of you probably have already an idea, but if you don't, I'm going to give you a few kind of brainstorming ideas to try and get it, or if you've got a thought and you want to shape it into an idea. The second one is to kind of work to a full out, which is a kind of training version of your submission, but almost with an actual script. And then the third one is how you can best craft your submission to make sure that you really kind of catch the eye of the judges and the curators for the conference. Right. So idea. How do you come up with an idea? I think that's probably the most difficult part, if I'm honest. Once you've landed on something that you like, the rest kind of really feels a bit more natural. I think when you look at Ashley's topic, my topic, a lot of the other topics, a couple of years ago, there was a brilliant one about the Spice Girls. Really what we can see is that an interesting way is to seek the convergence of the MFA theme and of culture. So ask yourself, what's dominating conversation, or what will be dominating conversation at that time? Like if you take myself, I knew Taylor Swift was touring. I mean, who didn't? And it was so much part of the zeitgeist of the year. I think it was a really good opportunity for us. So really seek kind of that convergence between the theme of the conference and culture. The second one is, and that those can kind of link to each other, or they can stand separately. The second one is really to find a human problem that you have a bold solve for, or an unexpected parabole that asks you to kind of allows you to look at it and, to look at an industry problem differently. We've had someone around kind of age last year that had a really interesting perspective. We had the business walrus and ideation. There was also a really interesting perspective. So I think that bold solve is an interesting angle to take. And then the third one is really think about what people can learn from you. I've had a few chats with people around our agency who think, what sets them apart is not necessarily relevant to what they do in a day-to-day kind of job. And I think that's not the case at all. So thinking about what people can learn from you, what do you know? What are your hobbies? What are you passionate about? What life experiences can you kind of bring to the table and give a fresh, different kind of daring perspective to something.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one, Marine, as well, just on that, like being able to pick out something from your brain that you think other people potentially don't care about, but is so unique to you is it's a superpower, honestly. I had in my mind, showing percentages of month on month is something that I wanted to bring in to Match and Wood when I first started, because it wasn't on our PCRs. Something like that, where you just go, that's a little bit more of a commercial mindset of going, what actually does the client want to see? How are we performing in trends? That is something where you just pull out and you're able to develop from. So I think that's a really fantastic point.
So to help you with that, we've got kind of 4 ideation techniques to get started. I'll quickly go through them. There's a bit of a 4-step process for all of them. We will obviously share that deck afterwards, so you can absolutely kind of go back and look at it. The first one I called force connection. It's about kind of getting unrelated concept or links to force idea. So think about kind of either object or concept that you're passionate about, either from a personal point of view or from a job point of view, and really try and kind of work through, a couple of unrelated elements to see if that could inspire or connect your submission idea. If you take like friendship bracelets and media, that's kind of how I got there. So have them on heaps of Post-its and kind of try and force this connection and see whether or not you can inspire an idea this way. The second one is called You're Fired, and it's reverse brainstorming. We use it quite a bit. Think about that conference, right? And think about what, if you stepped on stage and talked about it, what would get you fired, or what would make the conference audience fall dead silent, going like, I can't believe they're doing that. For example, what if you just went on stage and claimed working from home is brilliant because you can just not work? So obviously don't do that, but this is an idea of taking things that are really bold, really different, and really, daring, and seeing whether or not you can reverse engineer it into something that might be a cracking idea for a conference. It's an interesting and fun one to do. The second one, which is quite similar, is around kill the cliche. There is going to be 5 or 10 ideas, and generally that's your 5 or 10 first ideas that are so well trodden in our industry that they feel really vanilla, almost cliche. For example, like, how is AI going to revolutionize our industry? Or anything a large language model will throw you. So if you use Gemini and things like that, you can see that what they'll spit back at you is nothing original. So if you were to ask the question to a large language model, you'll probably get your 10 cliches in about 2 minutes, set a timer for 10 minutes, and then list kind of concepts or ideas that deliberately go against these cliches and see how you can maybe like them, shape them, and see what we can make happen here. And then the third
Maureen,
one.
I've just
Yeah.
seen Stu's message in the chat. Sorry.
Oh, I don't see
Presenting you
anything.
on
Sorry.
slide 3. Just want to check everyone else. What slide are you guys looking at?
Oh, no.
Feel free to just type it in the chat if you want to speak. Slide 4, perfect.
I've been following along, so I've got the kill the cliche now.
Okay, so that's fine for
Yeah.
most.
Sorry,
fine for
not me.
me.
That might just be my dodgy network.
Oh
Carry on. Thank
no.
you.
We will send the decks to you, promise. Right, the last one is what would Beyonce do, which is one of my favorite ones for ideas at large. Choose 2 to 5 characters or brands that you love. Could be anything, you know, could be Beyonce, could be Coke, could be anything. And imagine, like, if these people went on stage at MFAX, what would you expect them to talk about? What would you expect them to present? What would be their kind of take on what you do day to day for a living, and see whether or not you can kind of take these ideas and translate them into something that you could do. So it could be either, you know, what would Beyonce do at MFAX, or what would Beyonce do at a music conference, and see what that kind of spurs in your mind and how you can kind of apply that there, because that's where you find really interesting and maybe daring perspective. So really simple, 4 ideas. Feel free to come back to them. Once you have that, those kind of 3 things that are really important is think beyond what a conference is like and how your category typically behave. Make sure that idea feels almost like a hack to the system. Really think context, so leverage the environment, the cultural moment, or even the audience behavior. We talk a lot about what sort of theatrics or interaction you could have in your talk. So picture yourself kind of on stage and see what could you do that's going to really leverage what's around you, what people will be thinking about, maybe what they've just seen on TV the night before, that sort of kind of context and where your audience's brains will be at. And keep it simple. If I can't understand it in 1 sentence, you're overcomplicating it. And I think it is one of the big traps that you can fall in on a 4 minutes talk, is trying to cram too much thing in it. People really need a really simple topic and a really simple key outtake, and you need to be able to share that pretty much in 1 sentence. If that's not the case, then potentially you need to look at what aspect of what you're thinking at can you kind of drill down to have a really simple concept. This is really the moment as well where an important part of MFAX is, what is the audience going to walk away with from your talk? What are they going to take away from it? What are they going to understand? And this is not something you can figure out later. This is not something when you go like, well, I'll add, you know, that 1 last sentence, which is the learnings for the audience. That doesn't really work. That's always going to feel clunky. It's not something you can figure out later. It really needs to be baked in. So once you have your idea, think about how you can use that, because otherwise it's as if you're presenting an empty pizza box and there's nothing in there, right? So you want to be really, really clear on what's the takeaway for your audience. The other thing that you want to do, and we'll talk a lot about seeking feedback and how sometimes difficult that is. This is not really the time to go into a rabbit hole. So don't find your ideas and kind of your idea and run at it on your own. Seek early feedback, but seek early feedback only from 2 or 3 trusted people. When you go later in the process, you can talk to a dozen people about your idea and help them kind of refine, get a little bit of an idea of how that's going to land. But when you're this early in the process, what you need to do is seek early feedback from 2 or 3 trusted people. Can be the MFA champion in your agency, can be a really, really close co-worker, can be someone that's mentoring you, can be anyone. If you don't have anyone, get in touch. I'm very happy to spend 10, 15 minutes to chat about your idea. But don't go at it alone at this point. Seek early feedback, but don't seek too broad of a feedback. Really seek feedback from people whose experience and whose point of view you trust. So, step 1, find an idea. Think through what you want to say and what's in it for the audience. Seek early feedback with an elevator pitch with a handful of people, no more.